And welcome to the morning sports desk for Monday, September 11th. CJ's out today, but you got me. Hi, I'm Corey. Hope you're doing well. What do you say? Let's dive right on into it, of course. First thing front of mind for everybody in the great state of Minnesota. Tough loss for the Vikings in the season opener against Tampa Bay yesterday, and 20-17 final score. I don't know, honestly, if there's a whole lot to say about yesterday's game. I feel like I want to get that perspective out of the way as quickly as possible, and that is, I'm not convinced that this first game of the year actually really means anything. It's a tough one. I mean, especially when you consider the Vikings offense, nobody played during any of the preseason. And I feel like that's important in this entire process, to not have played even a minute together in some meaningful minutes. Yeah, sure, they had joint practices with other teams, and you hope that your number ones on offense going against your number ones on defense is competitive, but there's still nothing quite like playing against somebody else, and when you haven't done it since a season ago, I do think that's really, really important. And it's also important that, not everything in sports is on a game by game, a week by week live or die. You can't just go through all of that. That being said, I still think you can make some observations about the game, don't you think? I had a buddy of mine text me on Sunday after the opening drive, and it was a 3-word text message. It just said sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. And I laughed at him, and I was like, we're 3 plays into the regular season. Like, you can't just go on making those bold claims. And then I think the next possession was a fumble, and then the following possession was another fumble or something. And then a few possessions later, there was an interception. And in general, it was sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. I think that would just be the defining feature of that game. The Vikings offense only scores 17 points in a season where I think a lot is riding on, can Kevin O'Connell call plays? Can Kirk Cousins do what he did a year ago, or continue to do what he's been doing? Those sorts of things were ugly. Again, this all falls under the umbrella of it's one game. It's the first game. They basically haven't played together since the end of last season. I know all those practices. I understand that, all right? Now we're just talking about the individual game. There were some sloppy things. The offensive line was straight up bad at times, and at times I think you'd consider that to be most of the game. It's not like Cousins had a ton of time. Now, he ended up throwing for 344 and had 2 touchdowns in the game. But that interception and 2 lost fumbles, those are big. That interception in particular. 20-17 final score. Defense only gave up 20 points. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know, historically speaking, if 20 points is a lot or not. What I do know is this. It felt different watching it from a year ago. And coming into this season, I would venture a guess that would say, if the defense is only going to give up 20 points, the Vikings should have a chance to win a lot of those games. That was kind of the weird part about all of this. The Vikings offense should be able to score 3 touchdowns. I don't know. They just should. So it was a little bit of a rough look right out of the gate, I guess, on the offensive side of the ball. To be fair, I thought Tampa's defense was tough. They've been tough. I believe they were good a year ago, and they looked good again this year. And there's actually some people nationally who are picking Tampa Bay to represent the NFC South this year and to really, really make a push. All they need, as yesterday showed, is average play out of the quarterback. Well, they got it out of Baker Mayfield. It was only 173 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. It was his Tampa debut. That's enough. That's enough for Tampa, according to some people anyway, to win a lot of games. And the NFC South is might not be that good. That being said, the Vikings just lost to a team in the NFC South, so it might be that the NFC North isn't that good either. It was a tough look for the Vikings in Week 1, and it is a guaranteed L on Thursday. They go to Philadelphia. The Eagles will open up the home portion of their season on Thursday night at the Link, and that's going to be rough. That's going to be a rough way to start the season. Very likely looking at an 0-2 start for the Vikings, although fingers crossed that Super Bowl loss hangover is a real thing. And as a Vikings fan, I don't need things to go well for Philadelphia. I wouldn't mind if the Vikings came in and decided just to recover beautifully from the opening week loss. So that's what they'll do. They'll play at Philadelphia on Thursday night. And fingers crossed, at least things look a little smoother, although it might not. And it's okay. All right, we're taking this all over the map. Emotionally, this is a wide swing from does it really matter to here are some things that were quite ugly and maybe embarrassing to if they start the season 0-2, that's a tough look. This is they play on a Sunday after not having played since last season, and then a Thursday night with no time to recover. Like, it's going to be okay if they start 0-2. After that, boy, things need to be on the right path. I'm not ready to give up on a season or anything like that. I'm not that sort of person. I don't want it to sound like that. But come week 3, things better be organized. I think that's a fair request. Elsewhere around the state, let's dive into it over the weekend. Kind of a rough weekend for Minnesota sports. Pablo Lopez was very good. He struck out 14. He gave up just 2 hits, 8 scoreless innings, and he got a no decision. Twins lost to the Mets 2-0 yesterday. The Twins still have a 7.5 game lead in the AL Central over Cleveland because they also lost yesterday. Tampa Bay comes to town tonight, and that'll be a 6 o'clock pregame, 6:40 first pitch on 101.7 FM and AM 920 KWAD. So Minnesota sports 0-2 yesterday. The St. Paul Saints gave up the game-tying run in the bottom of the 9th and lost to Louisville 3-2 in 10 innings yesterday. The Saints are off tonight. 0-3 in Minnesota sports yesterday. The Minnesota Lynx had their comeback. Fall short. They lose to the Indiana Fever yesterday, 87-82, and that loss wraps up the regular season. 0-4 in Minnesota sports on a Sunday. Not great. The Lynx are actually getting ready to start the playoffs. They will visit Connecticut in the first round of the playoffs on Wednesday. It's a best-of-3 series. The Lynx are 6th in the WNBA at 19-21 on the season. Here's some good news. Gopher football. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that. 25-6 over Eastern Michigan on Saturday evening. Just a straightforward, nice game for the Gophers. I don't know. It wasn't like anything spectacular. It wasn't anything ugly. It was just 25-6. Let's just get the W. And nothing really else to say about the Gophers, but finally a win for Minnesota sports over the weekend. Gophers visit number 20 North Carolina this Saturday. Should mention we do have a lot of stuff coming up and want to encourage you to check out WadenaRadio.com and visit our broadcast schedule page because we've got a lot going on this week with high school sports. Again, of course, the Vikings play on the Vikings play on Thursday night on the Superstation. So that kind of changes our plans a little bit for high school sports, our regular run of high school sports during the week, but it's all listed at WadenaRadio.com. I encourage you to go and check that out. Pretty straightforward morning sports desk. It is Monday, September 11th.
It's time to rake in the beauty of autumn with a cleaned up landscape, and there's never been a better time to choose Miracle's Ace Hardware and Wadena.